We should be on. Hi, welcome to Comic Beat Insider, the weekly live stream podcast about movies, comics, and TV. And I am Heidi McDonald, and I'm dealing with my, uh, as I always do. Oh, wow, it played in Twitter that time. So, anyway, I'm Heidi McDonald, the editor in chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com. And welcome to Comic Beat Insider.
Yeah, I'm Jimmy Aquino, the host producer of Comic News Insider, the weekly podcast covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture at comicnewsinsider.com.
And I'm Avery Kaplan. I'm the features editor at The Beat.
And this week we continue Spider-Man month with an examination of Spider-Man 2, which, as
the original
we said,
Raimi trilogy,
the original Raimi trilogy, which is still on many people's lists as the best Marvel movie of all times, one of the greatest superhero movies of all times. Certainly a beloved film in many ways. And of course, all these rumors about, Spider-Man No Way Home, that we're going to see Alfred. But well, I mean, it's not a rumor.
We're going to see him.
Alfred Molina, God bless him. He just blabbed the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I did this movie. I was wearing a tan suit and, I moved about 3 feet to the left. I mean, just blabbed the whole thing. So,
when he said exactly where in Spider-Man 2, he comes out of the narrative.
Yeah.
You point it when you're watching it.
Yeah. He's like, oh, it's already on the internet, so I can blab. So this probably is his last time, but thank God they're bringing him back. And of course, I like this movie came out in 2004, so 17 years. I'd say 17 years is where the nostalgia kicks in. We're seeing so much talk about this version of Spider-Man, as popular as young Tom Holland is. Toby Maguire is he's
great.
He is great. So talk about how we first saw this movie. So now, so when Spider-Man 2 came out, I mentioned last week, it was the first free comic book day tied in with it. It was made $100 million over the first day, which is, the fastest film ever to reach $100 million. It was a huge hit. It just absolutely blasted Spider-Man into the stratosphere. And I had just started doing The Beat. It was not yet then a standalone blog. It was part of a site, comiccon.com. And as Spider-Man 2 was coming out, I was much more involved in writing. I had returned to journalism following my career as a comics editor. So I covered the making of this film in depth. They shot it in New York. So I was always hearing that they were going to be shooting somewhere. And I remember going up to the Museum of Natural History to see if I could see some of their filming. And, over at Union Square, they filmed all the time, or not Union, Madison Square Park. So I was always trying to catch a glimpse of Spider-Man. I never did. And then my other triumph was when it was opening. I had, I tried so hard to find someone at Sony in the PR department. And I said, oh, can I go to a screening of it? And the guy now in the world of 2004, there was only 5 websites. And The Beat was one of them. I'm hardly exaggerating, but he knew about The Beat, and he was like, "Oh yeah, let me," and I've been on Sony's list ever since. God bless him. He put me on the good list.
Oh wow!
So that was a big triumph. So yeah, I got to see it at a screening, and people. Every Spider-Man 1 was so beloved, and when we saw this film, I mean, we were just singing "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." It was he is risen, man. I mean, the people loved this movie, and it was immediately a beloved classic from Jump. Yeah. And I loved it. And like I said, I probably haven't seen it in 10 years. I still remember every scene, with one exception, actually, that I'll get to. So.
All right. Yeah, I definitely saw it in the theaters for sure, because when I constantly went to the theaters and loved it. And it's really been fun revisiting all of the first 2 at least. And so far, because I haven't gotten to the third one yet. But it's really, I saw it, of course, I watched it twice, as I usually do, at least 2 or 3 times. And it's just really fun. It's like, oh yeah, that person. Oh yeah, that person was in it. Oh yeah, there's all those little cameos. There's little people like Joel McHale and all these other people oh, there's that person. Donnell Rawlings yelling after Hudson. So yeah, really fun. Yeah, really fun to watch that and just see the relationship.
Daniel Day Kim.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And So many others. But yeah, it was I loved it. Yeah, for sure.
Avery?
Yeah, for me, it's sort of The Empire Strikes Back to A New Hope. Like it takes the awesomeness of Spider-Man 1 and just builds on it.
Mhm.
Although one thing I did notice that I was kind of a little let down was going back to our conversation last week about the artificial web shooters. I felt like this movie is where it actually matters because Ock's arms are the foil for the web shooters, but because we don't have the mechanical web shooters, they kind of have to like fudge it in this one
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, yet another maybe metaphor for sexy time stuff with him not being able to use them, not being able to perform.
Well, did they
it's
ever
like-
explain really why he
No.
was losing
It's
his
all-
powers?
Well, the doctor said, like you said, it's all in your head. You know, the one doctor, it's like,
The Deadhead Doctor.
yeah, it's like it's all
Yeah.
in your head. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is definitely another metaphor for sexy time stuff. So
Oof. Well, now,
Mhm.
Jimmy with his, bold
Listen, I'm a
interpretation.
psychology and sexual interpretation expert.
Well, I will say that there's there's three things that really, really stood out about this. And number one, Toby Maguire. He's just so damn
great.
good. He's so good, though.
He
It's
plays
like,
corny and cheesy and like just like this little lost boy so well.
yeah, but he also is able to show flashes of anger and
Sure.
like just every emotion. He covers every single emotion just so beautifully, subtly, like three emotions at a time. I mean, he's just great in this movie. And so obviously,
Yeah, it really is.
if he wasn't, it would not be the beloved classic it is. But he is matched by Alfred Molina. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Everything. And this movie is maligned for the bad CGI, but Doc Ock's arms are a freaking masterpiece.
They're great.
It's so good, and he is so good. And
Mhm.
Raimi understands, which we'll get to. Raimi understands him so well, but just he's the best. I think he might be, aside for the Joker, which you got to win an Oscar for. I think Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, might be the best villain of all.
Huh. Yeah, I was surprised to find out that people like this one better than the first one a lot because I was like, oh, okay. I feel like the first one obviously introduced the whole world and the characters, but it's like, yeah, okay.
Well, Avery, I think he nailed it with The Empire Strikes Back because you do have to see the first movie to get this one.
Yeah.
But it does build so perfectly on everything that happened in the first movie. But I was going to say the third star of it for me is the screenwriter, Alvin Sargent. And Jimmy, you watched it twice. You normally watch the movies twice.
Yeah.
And I barely have time to squeeze in one viewing. But you know what? I really wanted to watch this again before we talked about it because, again, there was nothing is wasted. Every scene, every line of dialogue is tight. References and builds on everything that's come before. And Alvin Sargent is I did look up his Wikipedia. I mean, he wrote Paper Moon, Julia,
wow.
Ordinary People. Let's see. What
Couple
about
little
Bob?
films, whatever.
Yeah, The Sterile Cuckoo,
Right on.
Hero. He's
there's definitely like every line.
Yeah,
matters
he's
for
an
sure,
all-time great screenwriter, and again, he was married to the producer Laura Ziskin, and so she obviously wanted him to be on the movie. Good call, Laura.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, nepotism worked here. Great.
Nepotism worked. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really like right away we get right into it. It's like it's obviously a continuation from the first film, and what I love about it is that we get to see a real New York City apartment that Peter has. It's like not the friend's apartment, it's not the one you see in films with these giant apartments. No, he's in a tiny little broken down studio near a subway track with a shared bathroom in the hallway.
But in the true New York apartment tradition, crappy apartment, it has one beautiful thing. It has the beautiful window, right? And which is so true. Like so many crappy apartments will have this, like a skylight great view or that one thing. And it's so, and I mean, the cake scene.
Mm-hmm.
the cake scene.
Yeah.
But
Can't
yeah,
wait.
so the movie does pick off. And Peter is a college student going to Columbia or whatever they were calling it, Empire State.
Yeah.
He's pretty much everything is continuing from the first. We open, he sees Mary Jane on a poster, so her acting career is taken off.
Yeah.
She's modeling, she's acting, she's in a play. The importance of being earnest. By the way, Kirsten Dunst is so great in those
Yeah.
parts, right?
I love her. She's so great. I really enjoy it. Although she is a little unprofessional, where she breaks character later on in the film and looks when she sees him and smiles. I'm like, that is terrible.
So, by the
No
way, Jimmy,
characters like, oh,
can you
come
actually
on.
see people in the audience when you're on stage?
Can I like you're always told to like look if you look out that way, you're always told to look past the last person in the row. That way it looks like you're looking at everybody.
Hmm.
You know? So, but certainly sometimes you can catch somebody's eye, or if it's that type of show where you have a side, so where like that, obviously look right at people. But in a show like Important to Be Earnest, you should not be looking off and noticing a friend in the audience. Like sometimes I'm on stage like tapping or singing, and I see friends in the audience. I'm not going to stop and go. And then I was, and then I did this. Like no, of
Yeah.
course not. It's like,
Yeah,
While
yeah.
the stage manager reads
I
your
know.
line to you
Yeah,
five
exactly, like,
times.
yeah, you're supposed to hit the high C here, you dummy. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, we meet Peter, going about
The pizza
his
delivery.
he's delivering pizza, the
Asif
classic
Monvries, the
pizza.
head.
Oh, which
Emily
okay.
Deschanel's receptionist, so great.
Oh, was that Emily Deschanel? I didn't
Yeah, the
realize that.
receptionist. Yeah.
Okay, now I will say, our biggest complaint about Spider-Man 1 was that it was so white. This movie is a little more diverse, but I say with Asaf Mandvi, they did do the thing that's kind of annoying where
Yeah.
they haven't put on an accent.
Yeah.
And he doesn't speak with an accent. He's
Sorry,
American.
not
Yeah.
Emily Deschanel. No, yeah, it is Emily. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because sisters. Oh, yeah, Emily. Yep.
Yeah, but he doesn't speak with a heavy
Um,
accent like that. So they did other him
yeah.
a bit, and
Yeah, and there's a little bit of that later that too with the weird violinist.
oh
Who in
yeah.
the very first scene she's in, she seems to have a very thick accent, especially
Hmm.
near the end. She's like
Hmm.
in the LR switch, which I'm like, well, that's weird. And I mean, if I was an actor at the time, I would have taken the job too. But then she appears again later, and she doesn't seem to have the accent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either they had a talk about it where either she had balls, was like, I don't think a character should be doing that, and they're like, okay, second time we won't have you do it, or somebody decided like maybe not have her do that again because that wasn't cool, but then they left it in. So
Yeah.
that kind of annoyed me a little bit. I was like,
By the way, getting a clonk. Next time I see him, I got to ask him about this. But because I'm seeing people now, we're seeing
Mhm.
human beings. Very exciting. In the subway scene,
Mhm.
very clear. Phil Lamar standing
Oh
next
yeah,
to
yeah,
Spider-Man.
Philip Morris in the front, yeah.
Right. So, but I mean, he doesn't actually do.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm in that scene too. Did you see me? I'm in the
I
back.
know, but
He just-
I mean, was he an extra? I mean, what was that all
yeah,
about?
he didn't seem to have. He had like a line. Like by
Yeah.
then he was working. He was doing. He wasn't
Yeah.
like a working. Like he was in. He's
He's
in Pulp Fiction before that. He's definitely a working actor.
oh yeah, he was.
Well, this was when he was on Futurama, even.
Yeah, there you go. So
Wasn't
maybe
he
that
on-
maybe he just knew somebody was like, I want to be in. They're like, yeah, we'll throw you in a scene.
Oh, that might be. Wasn't
You
he
know
in
what I mean?
like Fridays or Mad? He was on Mad TV.
He was
right?
he was on yeah, he was on Mad TV. Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean,
And,
I guess it literally was just a cameo where it's
I
like,
bet it was just like he knew somebody involved, and they were like, yeah, we'll put you in. Maybe he knew Raimi. Maybe I don't know. Who knows? Yeah.
I have a quick aside. Actually, Phil Lamar was one of the last people I saw in person before the pandemic because
Really?
the Red Sun premiere. Yeah, he was at the Red Sun premiere.
Oh,
and
awesome.
so I got to chat with him and meet him for the first time, which
He's delightful, isn't he?
he's amazing.
Well, Avery,
Yeah.
you can ask him about it then. Okay?
Yeah.
You probably he lives on the West Coast, so you can probably see him more than I do. So
Yeah.
Whoever sees
Yeah.
Phil Lamar next,
Yes,
we'll
yes.
find
Hey,
out.
Phil, they want to see you. Wait, you guys said today we're roommates. Until
yes. So everybody's quite jolly, except that. So Peter's delivering pizza, which is the great set piece. And this movie's very economical in its action scenes. Like there's really just Spider-Man and Doc Ock,
Yeah.
teeing off a few times. Of course, the Doc Ock scenes, but it's mostly a character piece. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that is why this film is so beloved. It's really, it's like our town, right?
Mhm.
It's just like people living their lives.
Yeah.
and trying to survive. And Peter's trying to deliver the pizza. He can't do it as which he's so good. He's got his dumb little
Okay.
helmet and he's
What a
writing.
dick move in Emily Deschanel's receptionist part. Like he's 3 minutes late. I'm not going to pay you. I'm like, that's so shitty. It's 10 pizzas, and he doesn't put up a fight. He's like, well, okay. He undoes his little buckles and little.
Oh,
I'm like,
also, by the way, they ordered pizza from a pizza parlor like
that's
50 miles
downtown.
away.
Yeah, that's like in the village or something like that. Yeah, Joe's Pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, no one
Yeah,
knows
there's
this.
just several little a few little New York moments.
Yeah.
Like that's not really New York, but all right.
But we do learn that Peter loses his job, and although everything's really cute, guess what? He's short on money.
Yeah,
Perpetual.
always short of
Trying
money.
to get money out of Elizabeth Banks at the Daily Bugle, and Jay Jonas trying to stiff him, and
Again, J.K. Simmons
again,
perfect.
So good.
You're fired. Wait,
really-
you're rehired. I love it. It's so great.
I really love how broke Peter is, and how you see him he needs this job and then he loses it. And I feel like so rarely do you see characters who are competent depicted as poor. So it's really nice to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he had the $20, he really needed that $20.
Yeah. And then the landlord snatches it.
Yeah.
Well, it was like at his little birthday party, which he just doesn't care about, forgets about, that Aunt May and Harry and Mary Jane show up at her old place because he's moved out into his little poor apartment. It's like, well, yeah, Harry's still a dick. Great. MJ and him still have a little thing. But then at the end, when he goes outside and MJ's sitting there, seemingly waiting to talk to him, like it looks like she's like about to kiss him. And then she's like, no, sorry, I got a boyfriend. I was like, that was cold, Mary Jane. I mean, I know he kind of did you wrong too, but I was like,
Well, the whole Peter MJ relationship is just as frustrating as some real life.
It really is.
I know, because every time one of them is like, you know what, I was wrong, I love you, and the other is like, ugh.
No, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Engaged.
Literally engaged. You're literally otherwise engaged.
Yeah, and that's the one part of this movie that I forgot about completely, because it's very forgettable. Is that she's engaged to
J. Jonah Jameson's son,
who's an astronaut, which I do love that corny detail.
John Jameson.
I mean, it's so unbelievable. I mean, it's just no chemistry. I mean, it's just so obvious they have nothing going on. But so Peter is doing well.
Do the kiss.
What?
when she makes him do the kiss.
Oh, yeah.
She's just like, and he's like, this is great. She's like,
well, and as the audience, the dramatic irony there is like, oh, dude, man.
So Peter is doing well in school, and he's writing a paper on the great physicist Dr. Otto Octavius, who just happens to be working with young Harry Osborn.
But his professor was Dr. Kirk Connors, who we know will become the Lizard.
Yes.
But wasn't it said in the first movie that he was fired from his job with Dr. Connors? Yet there's no really mention of that here. Remember, it was sort of a throwaway line in the first movie, like, oh, he lost his job with Dr. Connors. And I'm like,
yeah, but I think that falls under the fact that everybody knew Peter was brilliant, but lazy. He said, "You're smart,
right.
lazy." They
fair
actually,
enough. All right, maybe work for him after school or something. Okay.
So Harry thinks that Otto is going to have this demonstration of cold fusion that's going to put Oscorp right back on the map, and he invites Peter to go meet Dr. Octavius, and we have this wonderful scene of Peter, Doc Ock, and his wife, his lovely wife, having this
Donna Murphy. So great.
Yes, and Doc Ock and I think it's Marie is her name. They just have this lovey-dubbins of relationship, and which is everything that we don't see anywhere else.
Rosalie Octavius.
Rosalie, that's it. And that's really like the role model relationship. I mean, obviously Uncle Ben and Aunt May had a great relationship, but that was tragically cut short. But Doc Ock and Rosalie absolutely adore each other. And it's like, even like when they're talking about how they meet, which is when you meet a great couple and they talk about how they met.
They're little meet cute,
They have, and they love telling the story.
Yeah.
They can never tell the story.
Act like they've never heard it before. Oh yeah, I remember that when we did. I'm like,
and Peter is like, I mean, I read some reviews as like, this is the family Peter can never have.
Yeah.
And
well, she's pretty nosy, Rosalie. She's like, tell us about yourself, Peter. You have a girlfriend? I'm like, whoa, that was a big leap. That was a real big leap.
I don't know. I think in the olden days, like people just cut to the chase a little bit more, especially,
maybe.
I don't know. My great grandma used to ask me some incredible questions.
No, I'm sure.
Well, she's also getting fridged in like 2 minutes. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
exactly.
really got to get it out there. Like,
It's true. Just gotta
Right.
get it so much as I can.
Yeah. So dumbass Harry Osborn calls all the press and everybody
Dick.
in for this, experiment, which they've never done before, which is, rookie move. If the glove if the glove does not fit, you must acquit. Don't try something you don't know in front of the jury, you dumbass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And amazingly, the experiment goes horribly wrong. But first, before the experiment goes wrong, Dr. Octavius just happens to put on his mechanical arms because why not?
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to do some cold fusion. Let me
Well,
strap
because
on my arms.
he says because human hands can't touch it, so he has to have something else to use
Yeah,
to touch the interaction. So yeah, so
when
that I got. I was fine with that,
I do that too, but I use one of those little gripper things that you get.
Yeah, I feel like a gripper would have worked on a
cold fusion.
solid fusion. Yeah, it's like maybe, I don't know. We've never tried it. Let's try it. Maybe one of these little back scratcher things will work. You're like, let me see if I can get that in there. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me get a.
Well, but I mean, I do like. I mean, it's just like this is already a great. Why didn't you just do this? It's all fused to his spine.
Yeah, and you see, like it hurts. That's a great scene where it sticks into him. And he goes, oh, like he feels it. Clearly, it's like okay.
Oh,
like,
they see
in the audience is like, ooh,
little needles
God.
into the
Yeah.
spine.
I was like,
Well,
yikes, what's he doing?
It's got that great exposition with the computer chip. That's so much heavy lifting in like 2 seconds of like, oh, here's the chip, and then you get a shot of it later where it's not working anymore.
Yeah.
God
it seems like a really everything's metal and the chip's like plastic. I'm like, come on, really? That's not gonna last.
Yeah,
it's just a little piece of plastic. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Well,
Somebody pat you on the back and it's broken. Come on.
The part made out of Lego.
Right? It was like the little Lego oneer that you put on the top.
Pop it right off.
But I'll say this about the script. People in the script do a lot of dumb things, but it's a very smart script. I mean, it's not like
how it's on the page to how it's acted out can be very different. Yes.
Absolutely. But
as a former actor myself, I know.
But I mean, it's in a lot of movies, this is like, oh, that's so dumb. Why did they do that? And it's even like
actor's choice, director's choice. Who knows?
Yeah, but no. But I mean, it's also just like like some. I mean, having the public demonstration of his fusion experiment. That's so dumb, Harry. And anyway, it goes horribly wrong. There's a horrible explosion and poor Rosalie is killed. So she does get fridged. It's a classic fridging, right, Avery?
Mm-hmm.
And
introduced and then
yep, that's it. We see this loving relationship that must be ended.
Raimi has these great shots, all the time. It's like there's the broken glass and then the one big piece swirling and we see her face in the reflection, and it's such a great shot. Oh, he's so good at things like that.
But then as they do, everybody runs away and they manage to shut down the explosion, but now
Spidey manages
Spidey manages to save everything,
and Harry's still a dick because he saves Harry's like, this changes nothing.
Yeah.
Baby.
I specifically acknowledge you saved my life.
I know. Kirsten will hate you.
God. Yeah. Whatever. And then comes the classic hospital scene.
Oh, this is great. This is the most Evil Dead in a Spider-Man movie ever. It's such an Evil Dead scene, and it's so great. It's like an homage. I love it.
When the hand comes up with the chainsaw.
Well, and that's great here. So that's John Landis as the doctor, the director John Landis. Because they're pals, and he's like, and maybe it would have been too on the nose because we do see Bruce Campbell earlier or later, a little bit later, as an usher, as a dickish usher. It might have been too on the nose, but how great would that have been to have Bruce Campbell be the doctor and grab the chainsaw? I'm like, they probably talked about like, no, it's too on the nose.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to scratch himself. Yeah. But like suddenly the film is just shot in a completely different, the timing, everything about it, and. It's a tremendous homage to Raimi.
The nails on the floor.
Yeah, yes.
I was listening to the commentary. That's wax. They put wax down and they dragged her back, so wax coming up on the floor. That's how they did it.
Such great practical effects.
Who's on the commentary?
There's Sam's on there, Toby's on there. I think I'll have to double check. But there's another commentary too that's a technical commentary. So I'm probably going to listen to that this week and see if there's any other.
Yeah.
Man,
There's some
I
great screamers in that scene too.
oh yeah.
There's like 2 or 3 women who have great screams who clearly audition with those screams. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, those are awesome.
And I think by this point, again, we've realized that as problematic as the Spider-Man CGI is, which there's a lot more of. I mean, they did it a little bit in Spider-Man 1, so it wasn't quite as annoying, but here it's just
Right.
constant CGI double. Just doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't fool
Eh.
us at all.
Yeah, no,
But
he's fine.
but the arms are just so well
Arms are
done.
great.
But they used puppets for them,
Mm-hmm.
which blew my mind when I was reading
Great.
it. And that is why, that is why this
That's why it
movie,
works.
this
Yeah.
is why it works. It
Yep.
was real, it was practical. They had, they had real things. And
Yeah. Well, that and the reactions, because
Yes.
you see the people like in the buildings that are shaking because he's climbing up, and you never get that in superhero movies now. You never see like what's it like to be a person in a building when he goes outside. But you see how people react to that in this, and that he's a presence in a way that so many villains aren't because of that.
And how they did it was, I mean, they did use CGI for him when he is walking with his arms, which also, again, just the best. I mean, it's
great.
so cool
Yeah,
how
it really
he's
is.
doing it. And it works perfectly.
Yeah, and as fine of actor as Molina is, there are definitely moments where he sort of goes over the top, and clearly on purpose, and it's really good. Like some looks he gives. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, well,
cool.
I read a little. Originally there was a Michael Chabon draft, which sounds dreadful. Like Doc Ock was young and in love with Mary Jane, and they had all these young Harry, all these. But this was just like a little trivia, but I think it's really the film features 2 other villains, the comics. John Jameson, son of J. Jonah, is the Man Wolf, and Dr. Kirk Connors is the Lizard. Both are Jekyll and Hyde type tragic villains, that they are good-hearted men who are transformed periodically against their will into their vicious animal-based alter egos. And we do, Doc Ock is struggling with it as well. His inhibitor chip is gone and his arms have taken over, and they make him do these evil things where, after the hospital. Now this was pure Batman Forever, right?
The bank robbery, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but real quick, right before the bank robbery, they're at the Bugle. And does Robbie Robertson know he's Spider-Man? Because he gives him a very knowing look. He's like, and Spider-Man was there, and Bill Nunn just looks right at him. I'm like, does he know?
I think he suspects. But no, before that, Otto escapes to this dilapidated, river side destroyed thing, which isn't in New York.
Which, how would that even be allowed to still be sitting there?
Unless it was deep underground or something. I don't know. But that really did remind me of the Penguin in Batman Returns.
Yeah.
And I think like Otto as the misshapen, like villain, misunderstood villain with his lair. This reminded, but that made me also think of how, like, I feel like Raimi's trilogy is the end cap of the period from Superman, the original Christopher Reeve Superman, on through Iron Man 1, which starts the MCU era, because those films are, the Michael Keaton Batman movies, and, the ones that came after, which are, the Val Kilmer and George Clooney, which we shouldn't talk about, but like Superman. I think Spider-Man 2 and the original Superman are probably the 2 superhero movies that are most beloved and most often people say are the best ever.
Well, yeah, Superman 1 and 2 I see as one. The Donner cut is one film basically. So
yes,
sense,
yeah. And but I there's so much, like, this film is intimate compared to the MCU films. Like
you said, there's kissing.
There's kissing. There's mussing. There's fussing. But it's also just really, they are the allusions to the other villains. But it's not like and we love it. We love in the MCU when in some Captain America movie, suddenly, Claw shows up, and we know he'll be back, right? And he does. And then Claw comes back and back. Like they have all these jeopardies. Whereas in this movie, unity of action. Again, I give Alvin Sargent all the credit for that. It is unity of this battle, but again, Spider-Man is also a victim of mutation, and now Otto is dealing with these evil robot arms.
Yeah, who he tries to control, but he can't. They somehow whisper in his ear, like, go rob a bank and let's get some money so we can redo this project again.
Well, and
He does.
I think it's crucial that foil is done across money, because it is. He robs the bank. He accepts the initial job for money from Oscorp. And when he goes after Spider-Man in Act 3, it's for money, for the resources to do his experiment. Yeah. And I think that he's made a Faustian deal with capitalism. And it's like, come back to bite him in the ass. Whereas you've got Spider-Man who won't do that. And that's really why I feel like the web shooters would have been better for Spider-Man 2, because I think it would more directly put them in as foils of one another.
Yeah, like maybe he couldn't afford to have. I mean, it would have been very different, because we do see him losing his powers. He'll be flying and then whoop, whoop, can't get it up.
See, I'm saying can't
but
get it.
But you're right. But what if it was because he couldn't afford the Elmer's glue for the web mixture?
Yeah, there you go.
You just can't do it.
Yeah, for sure. That's true.
So meanwhile, Peter and MJ just are going back and forth. She's in the play. He wants to go see her in the play. He's on the way, and she says, "Don't disappoint me."
Yeah. And of course we know that he's
doomed to disappoint her. Because on his way, he's so broke, but he still buys the flowers, and then
they take him away.
I know. It's 3 left with 3.
And he rides his little scooter. But then there's a call.
And gets hit by a car.
Scooter is destroyed. He gets there late, and then the Bruce Campbell Sublime cameo.
What a jerk! Like you can like in a musical. I really don't know how it works for straight plays. I can't remember, but in a musical, they're like, okay, after this number, we'll let you in, and we'll after the number's over. But a straight play, I feel like, okay, we could slide you in. Like I'm like. That was really, I was like, I would have definitely found my way in.
So as is with a lot of things, I've actually forgotten what Bruce Campbell does in Spider-Man 3, because he's also in Spider-Man 3.
I don't remember either.
But we don't remember. But he often said in interviews that in the first movie he named Spider-Man, and then the second movie he defeated Spider-Man.
Oh, so the third one he kisses Spider-Man?
I don't know. We'll have to find. We'll have to find. I don't remember much of Spider-Man.
Maybe
3.
He dances with him when he's doing his little emo thing.
We'll see. We'll find out before next Monday for sure.
Great.
But it's like they're building up Peter's frustration with all the elements of his life, and of course,
and then she drops it on him. Oh, by the way, getting married. It's like,
well, no, they're not. She's like, I'm because that's not until.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, she says like, I'm pretty serious for this guy. Yeah, I've seen this guy.
And then he doesn't even know it's his nemesis son. So
did we miss the Doctor Strange reference?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
when he throws that out, and J. Jonah Jameson throws Doctor Strange into dialogue, the only other Marvel hero. That one read, and now that's it seems retrospectively really funny to me.
Yeah.
But
and then we barely see the Stan Lee cameo here.
I know they cut it so badly.
You kind of barely see it, like he's saving somebody. That's about it. But
But so meanwhile, also, guess what? Aunt May's having money problems too. She like Peter's Fred goes over for the birthday party, which by the way is only Aunt May, Harry Osborn, and MJ. It's a little bit sad, but okay.
No, that was before the birthday was in the beginning, wasn't it?
That was I think it was a little bit because that's when he sees the letter of the foreclosure. So his money problems become even more severe. And it is true. We are jumping about a little bit. But he's just, everything is building on him. And so but then he's losing his powers. Now I forget what was the thing that makes him decide he must be Spider-Man no more.
So the powers are waning, and he goes to the doctor, right?
Yes.
The doctor's like, maybe you don't need, does the doctor say something like, maybe you need to give that up or something like that, or you don't need to do that, saying how it's in his head. And then I think, was it after he found out she was getting married? Because then he finds out she's getting married.
But then,
so he kind of just decides like, oh, well, I don't need this.
Yeah, that's right. But there's also the scene where he confesses to Aunt May what happened.
Yeah. Oh, that's coming up.
Uncle Ben. That's Uncle Ben. So
I mean, that's pretty powerful. But it's like, again, just tell her you're Spider-Man. Just tell MJ you're Spider-Man. It's like, oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
dragging it out.
Right. But he decides, and this is just the greatest cut in the history of
Mm-hmm.
superhero movies, no question about it. We see the homage to the classic Ditko cover where he throws away the Spider-Man No More.
Throws
And I mean,
it in the garbage.
Throws
Come
it in the
on. I know that's
garbage.
what it is in the comic, but
It
still,
hanging
like,
out.
come on.
Yeah,
Like,
but
come
it's
on.
complete homage to the comic, which absolutely
Which is
brilliant.
great. Yes.
And then there's the cut, and the raindrops keep falling on my head.
It's this weird montage, which is great though. It's of him living a normal
I laughed
life.
so hard.
I
laughed so hard.
Musical month is over, Heidi. Musical month is over.
Nothing seems
Musical
to
month is over.
change.
She doesn't understand that you
Never
sing one
gonna
line and
stop
not the
my
whole
rain
song.
from
Oh my
falling.
God.
No, but it's just so good.
And the freeze.
Oh yeah. And I mean they.
Oh yeah, the freeze. I was like, that was such a weird thing, but kind of funny.
So ridiculous.
Wait,
such
which
a perfect
one?
freeze.
The
It,
freeze.
like freezes at the end of that.
Oh right,
song.
right. The freeze.
That's like it's like a TV montage. Yeah.
Right, but so I think the other thing that makes this so amazing and beloved is that I mean, we saw how great Sam Raimi was in the first movie, just in terms of getting great performances out of everybody, visualizing it, the story, telling the story, everything. And in this one, he really gets to indulge in just these little bits. And it's like, we're so used to just the lightning fast cuts. And like this montage, they do the whole song. They do not, like in most movies now when they do the montage, they just, they get cut off. Like Jimmy just cut me off in my joyous
song.
She
would have done the whole song.
I would have, because it's joyous. But
we don't have the rights for it. We're going to get
yes, that's true. That's true. Good. Thanks, Jimmy. So they'll just do the first 8 bars, 16 bars.
The bridge or whatever.
Yeah, but they do the whole thing.
It did go on a little long, I felt, but yeah.
But you see, that's one of the secrets of comedy is that.
Whoa, guys, secrets of comedy. Here it comes.
No, so there's a few people who do, like John Kay, who's an asshole, horrible abuser. But I will say Ren and Stimpy was great. He did Ren and Stimpy. Right. John Kay,
okay.
John Chris Felucci. And if you watch, and David Lynch does it as well, and Sam Raimi does it too, where they do something and where normally they would cut, they hold it a little too long. And then you're like, oh God, this is so uncomfortable.
Just when you think it's over, it comes back around, it becomes funny
no,
again.
No, right. And then,
that's what I'm saying.
Like they hold it to that point of pain.
Yes.
And it becomes pleasure again, just like with a Smarty, you know?
The South Park guys do that a lot too.
Yes.
It's like, they're writing this joke into it's funny again. And there it is.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm with you. Okay.
So meanwhile, just another tiny subplot, which is again just part of the tapestry of what makes this film so special. So Peter isn't paying his rent. So Mr. Ditkovich, homage there, lives right across the hall from him. And every time Peter goes in and out of his apartment, Ditkovich is yelling at him, but it turns out he has a teenage daughter who's like about 8 feet tall.
A little crush on him, yeah.
A little crush on Peter. And also, pounds. Well, she also, like, this was the last time that, midriff tops were in, and they're in again.
Gosh, she's so tiny. Her pants are so low.
I know.
What the hell?
But yeah, this was the era. So this was the era in fashion where the midriffs were high and the pants were low, and we had huge area. And so now we're going to the high pants and the midriff tops everywhere I go. Whenever I go out, all the girls are wearing their midriff tops, and it's only matter. The pants are going to come down, people. We're going to be back. And
we'll be back. We'll get there.
She's going to be back in style again.
And I'll be wearing them.
Yeah. Nature is healing.
But she knocks on Peter's door and says, "Would you like some chocolate cake?
Do you want to eat my chocolate cake?" Yeah, for sure.
And they just, now thankfully they do cut away, but we see that there was this super awkward scene of the two of them eating cake together.
Yeah, it's cute. Why not?
Yeah.
Oh, but Aunt May, like when he goes to see that she's moving, She does get her revenge because last time they left, she was a little upset, but she's like, "Oh, Pish Posh is fine." But he asked, "What about my comics?" She's like, "I gave away your comics." I'm like, "Aunt May got her revenge."
Yeah. Oh, we forgot
Gave
how
away his comics.
somehow we forgot how this all tied in together because it was well done. When Otto goes to rob a bank, it just so happens that Peter and Aunt May are there to get a loan. And so Doc Ock captures Aunt May, and Rosemary Harris did her own stunts.
What?
They say.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. She was 7. I mean, good if she did. Why not? Good for her.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, holy
Well,
cow.
I mean, I think she's got an umbrella.
Pretty dangerous.
We don't see her hanging,
All right.
but she loves it. I mean, apparently she loved playing Aunt May, whereas Alfred Molina hated being Doc Ock. And,
really?
Yeah, he said they had to trick him into doing his own stunts. I mean, Alfred Molina he seems like a real character.
Yeah. That sounds suspicious, Alfred.
Yeah. So anyway, so there was jeopardy to Aunt May, and which is I think again one of the reasons why Peter gave up Spider-Man after that, because his powers gave out in that battle. So then we have a gala. There's always a gala in the superhero, where it's at the Museum of Natural History, where I was so hoping, but I couldn't get close. I couldn't see. I saw they were filming people walk. I remember it came back to me that they were filming people in their high society costumes kind of walking in, and I saw some of them, but it was just extras. So I never got.
He does get a little inspiration to be a hero again, where he has lost his powers and he runs in and saves that little kid in the fire, just like reminiscent of the first movie, but this time he doesn't have his powers. He somehow saves the kid. Parents didn't seem that grateful, I'll say. I was like, they're like, I guess they're worried about their kid.
So,
but it's like,
okay.
I noticed something.
Wait, what? Go over.
So what really stuck to me about that scene is where the little kid helps him up after he falls
how
through.
strong she is.
But I think that because you see that echoed again in the subway, and I think that Raimi's trying to make a larger point about the hero needs the support of the community. It's not.
There you go. Yeah.
It's not the one-way thing. Like I think it is like he's struggling, but the people need to help him the same way he helps the people, and there will be different ways to help each other. But
and I think that moment, definitely starts him thinking again. I know maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe I still need to be a hero.
Right. And I mean, he is still a hero even without his powers.
Yeah.
Although I gotta say, in both scenes, look, if my building was on fire. I mean, did they just leave the baby there?
Yeah, what happened?
Went out to Starbucks both times. I mean, my building's on fire. Look, I mean, God forbid.
My kid's fine.
I would try to get the cats, but I might not be able to get the cats, and unfortunately,
I'd get the cats, but not the kids.
Right, but it's like it's not like if I had to save my own life, I would probably have to leave my pets behind. I wouldn't do that for my child. I would die trying to save my child.
I mean, unless my kid's a dick, then I'd be like, you know what?
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I just don't understand.
Well, the first time it was Norman. I get leaving Norman alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
People who just happen to leave their babies in buildings so that they catch on fire. That's why you don't leave the kids alone. Okay.
Maybe it was just a bad babysitter. Just a real bad babysitter.
There you go. Yeah, like maybe they ran out.
Smoke. Good luck, kid.
Bye, baby.
Bye, baby.
I'll leave the door open. Here you go. Bye.
Yeah. So so then we see more of this John Jameson, who's just a total tool. I mean, astronaut, whatever.
Nothing really wrong with him. He's just boring. Just bland.
Bland. And he announces, "Oh, the beautiful Mary Jane Watson has just agreed to marry me." And Peter's there taking photos for J. Jonah. So I was like, "Come on, Parker, get the photo.
Shoot the photo."
And Harry's drunk and being a jerk as usual, So
oh, that broody judge. Like James Franco barely has to act in this. I feel.
I know. He
just showed up to set.
Just showed up being a moody asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
But so now Peter's heart's broken again. He gives up being Spider-Man, and then MJ gives tries to give her fiance the upside down kiss test. It's like, no.
And that makes her realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't marry him. I think she starts to realize.
Yeah. And then we have they meet up, MJ. So throughout the movie, I mean, it is a little annoying. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
It's
the back and forth between the two. I'm like, oh, come on.
It's a little bit like, come on, you guys.
First of all, just tell her. Just tell her.
Just Come on, go with the
Ugh.
flow. Give it a try.
God.
What's the worst that'll happen?
Yeah,
Well,
she's already been in danger
yeah,
in the first movie like 7 times. So it's like she's used to it.
yeah. So, well, unfortunately, they're sitting there, and even the first time I saw this movie, it's like whenever you see the hero with a big wide shot of the
Mhm.
street behind him,
Something's gonna happen.
something's gonna happen, and
Well, after he saves her, like she doesn't question because she's already suspecting, and she doesn't question that. Oh, maybe you're Spider-Man. It's like he dove, spun with you in his arms to protect you and save you, and she's like, "Oh, thanks, Peter." It's like,
didn't she kiss Peter Parker in the
no, she
first
asked to.
movie? In the
Oh,
first
yeah,
movie, and when she does,
yeah.
she's like,
Questions if it's the same or not. Oh,
she's
yeah,
got everybody's got suspicions for
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Um,
Especially Robbie Robertson with
yeah,
that look.
probably smart.
Yeah, that look.
He's like, it's
But
so great.
yeah, so but they just Peter and MJ just can't get can't get it
And
together.
then Doc takes her away because he thinks it's his girlfriend, or he clearly
Right.
knows he loves her or knows her, has feelings for her.
And then J. Jonah James, we have this great scene where somebody has found Peter Parker's, the Spider-Man suit and sells it to J. Jonah James, and he's like, "We've got a front page."
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man no more. And then actually that great remorse where he's like, I was
He was a hero.
He was a hero. I don't know, I should never have done that. And then
the immediate.
yeah,
That menace.
the menace.
The thief.
Knew it all along.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
great.
anyway, so Doc Ock has, made a deal with Harry Osborn because we see Harry is definitely deteriorating. I mean, he is hearing the laughter in the house also, like his dad did, and he's drinking too much, and he's so mad at Spider-Man. And Doc Ock comes and wants more tritium so we can do no more experiences. And Harry's like, "I'll do it if you kill Spider-Man, or bring him to me alive. Bring him to me alive." And we go to the great set piece of the whole thing.
Oh, the big train
subway
fight.
scene, which there are no elevated trains in Manhattan.
That's what I was like, where is this train? Was it ever there? No, of course not.
Well,
like,
there was. There was an L on 3rd Avenue.
But did it weirdly end like in the middle
No.
of the... That's what I was like. That's such a weird ending for a train. I'm like, that can't be right.
But I mean, it's an incredible scene. They actually shot it in
great.
Chicago, where they do have the elevated train. Or they shot like plates, and they use some track in Chicago to do some of the compositing, because they do have an elevated train there. And the first movie was really like such a New York movie, and everything felt very true, and the geography was true. They play a little fast and loose in Spider-Man 2, but that's okay. But yeah, this scene is like
great fight scene on the train.
It's just
really great scene.
It's a classic.
He starts tossing people. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, when he's
just throws people, and like Spidey catches him and sets the net, throws him in the net. I'm like, oh, that is so great.
Yeah,
so great.
And again, Doc Ock's arms, just like, I mean, this is truly one of those cases where you never think about the CGI. You are so completely sold on the reality of these. And Alfred Molina, I mean, Sam Raimi obviously loves these old men villains that Steve Ditko. I mean, I think Sam Raimi and Steve Ditko are two of a kind. And or they have a kinship. They have a deep kinship, because Ditko created all these kind of sad old men characters like the Vulture and Sandman, who's in the next film, and Vulture would have been in Spider-Man 4. And I mean, I kept making jokes, but Alfred Molina and his dingy gray wife beater, and he doesn't. He isn't buff. He isn't, like they are now. Like everyone now in MCU goes to the trainer and goes on the diet.
Oh yeah, Doc Ock today would have been like The Rock. It's like
exactly. But it's just so perfect that he's so human. You never lose the humanity of Dr. Octavius in this film, and his grief over his wife and his grief over losing his career, this experiment. You see how he's weakened to the influence of these evil tentacle arms. But also like just his dark glasses. I mean, it's just like he's also so cool, and I mean, dare I say sexy, just the way, dare I say Alfred Molina, like just with his pulling them off, and and his coat and everything.
Well, we did forget to say, like, Peter's love for MJ again after getting attacked. Suddenly his powers come back. So that's like
Mm.
it was in his mind. He needed MJ's love to bring his powers back. So it leads to this big fight on the train. Then like Molina's like, "You got a train to catch. See you later." And so it's this really great thing, which is a great line. And he's got this great thing of like, just Toby Maguire is so great where he's like trying to hold the train with all this webbing and pushing it back. And at first it doesn't work. And then the train conductor, what a jerk. And he had a bright ideas. I'm like, he's trying to save your life, you jerk. I was like, are you serious?
Because they
what a weird place for that line.
Conveniently built a train track that ends in the middle of nowhere over the river because that's what you do, Robert Moses. Jesus.
And I was like, what that line was so unnecessary. I felt like such a weird, it's almost broke the scene for a minute. It was like,
yeah.
But he does save the day, and it's so great. And then what is such a beautiful shot is him after he saves it, he's about to collapse, and you see these hands come and grab him. I'm like, that's a beautiful shot.
And that's really what you were talking about, Avery,
yes,
about the community, and they see his face.
Yeah.
And they don't now, of course, nowadays everyone would have their cell phone out.
Exactly.
And
yes.
TikTok in 5 seconds, but this was life before cell phones, or they had cell phones and video, but before iPhones.
Yeah.
People cared about each other before iPhones.
Yeah, it's true. It's destroying the world. You're right. Watch Mitchell's versus Machines. It'll explain it all. But it's great. Yeah, and it's such a nice moment where they sort of carry him back, in this little like slow little almost.
That's a little Cool Hand. That's from Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah,
it's a little Jesus analogy, Cool Hand Luke. But hey, steal from the best.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like he earned it in a way that certain Jesus analogies from certain superhero movies don't feel like they earned it.
Yes, you're right.
Which one do you mean, Avery?
You're right because we do see that Spider-Man is sacrificing everything in his life. He's for this and to help other people, and you're right. It's earned. It is earned. And then we're ready for the final showdown at Doc Ock's beautiful dilapidated lair. I guess it's on the East River.
But first, Doc does eventually capture him and take him to Harry.
Yes.
And Harry sees that it's Pete.
Wrapped in a bow.
Yeah, exactly. Wrapped in a barbed wire bow.
Yeah.
and Harry sees it's Pete. He's just like torn, but then still hates him. But still, it's my friend. What I do, and just, oh god damn it.
Yeah. Well, the
Franco,
influence
whatever.
of the, he's got the bad influence of
of course
of the Green Goblin mask, and but Peter easily gets rid of the barbed wire, escapes from Harry, and manages to track him down on his secret waterfront laboratory. By the way, did you notice that when Doc Ock, needed money to get materials for his lab, I mean, did he order them on Amazon?
Well, yeah, Amazon delivers everything. It's how Jeff Bezos became a millionaire for sure, billionaire.
Right, because I noticed there was a scene where he's like got a crate and he's like, "Oh, here's my transponder and all that," and how do you didn't that take a while to get those parts? But
so key differences in this New York is the L. There's the mysterious thing in the East River, and for some reason, Amazon was around in 2004.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. There you go.
Right. Yeah.
It's Roxxon. It's Roxxon, right?
Yes.
He's a visionist, that Sam Raimi is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, we got to wrap this up because I know Jimmy actually have somewhere to go. So anyway, there is another fantastic. MJ.
Why did he keep MJ? I don't get.
Because it was like a little damsel. I mean, there is some criticisms of the damsels in distress. Both Aunt May and MJ are.
And I'll say Raimi resisted most of the movie to put her in a low cut top and have her wet until the end. So at least
then he really goes all in. On
I did. And I was like, I did it all of the first movie. Let me hold back till the end on this one.
Yeah. You couldn't.
It was a cute dress and stuff too, but give her a bra maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't wear bras in the early 2000s.
No, 2004. Yeah, they were banned back then.
Yeah, they were banned. But another, it's a great fight and another great, and but now there's a giant ball of fusion that's going to destroy New York. And at the last moment, Doc Ock overcomes his arms, and
I didn't know you could just drown fusion.
Yeah,
I mean, is that a scientific thing? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, it went over to the MCU. Apparently, it goes into the room and gets sucked over to the MCU.
There you go. There you go.
Tom Holland's problem now.
There you go. Exactly. There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, and now Doc Ock, dies, sacrifices himself. Only, as Alfred Molina told us, he will rise from the river in Spider-Man No Way Home. So that'll be great. And also CGI de-aged back to 17 years younger. So cool. And by the way, they will not do it as well as Raimi did. The arms.
Yeah, probably not.
It's probably just CG, right?
Yeah, they'll look fancier, but they won't be. Yeah,
we'll see. Although, by the way, but I will say Doc Ock inspired. Like, I think you tweeted it, didn't you, Avery? Like, Doc Ock was also the villain in Into the Spider-Verse, and which are the two best Spidey movies. And Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Coincidence? I don't think so.
No. Exactly.
No. So now we just have this beautiful little, troika.
Oh, on the spider web that he created somehow. It's just like somehow just for them to lay on and hang out. It really didn't need to be there.
But we wrap up all the little parts. Harry goes back home, and Willem Dafoe shows up. And the ghost, the phantom of Willem Dafoe.
Avenge me!
More breaking glass too. More breaking glass. A real motif in this movie.
So we see that will be perhaps for the threequel there. And
MJ is a runaway bride.
Yes,
literal runaway bride.
Yeah. Oh my God, she looks
through Central Park, right?
Yeah. So there's this, which that's pretty shitty, MJ. I mean, you could have told him before that. And then J. Jonah turns to his wife and says, "Tell him not to put the caviar.
Don't open the caviar.
Don't open the tins of caviar." Yeah.
And Peter and MJ are in his horrible little hovel. And
finally,
Harry's tie though. Harry's got the green tie at the wedding.
Yep. Oh. And had they ended this again with them not being together, I would have been furious. They had to get them together.
Well, for Act 1, Empire Strikes Back.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
On and land.
Yeah. So we do get that little epilogue of Harry hearing his dad and finds all the stuff and it's gonna be a little hobgoblin action.
He didn't really ever explore his apartment and did not know there was a secret chamber full of supervillain equipment.
It's a pretty big place, so whatever.
Kind of a dream. It's like the New Yorker's dream of opening a door and finding the secret room, right?
Yeah,
Harry lived the dream.
There you go.
And that's it. The movie ends, and we are completely satisfied.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there you go. Great poster
completely
too.
Happy. Sure. So, Jim, you have a few.
I do, Q. So we'll stick with the casting I did last week for Spidey.
Because it was excellent. It was excellent.
There you go. Thank you. And then directed, of course, by Kathy Ent as the whole series. So just a few others we're gonna do here. Gonna go to, and we're gonna start with Doc Ock. And again, even though it's it's still kind of white heavy, kind of whatever, but it's also still kind of male heavy. So I'm gonna gender swap this and go with the great Gong Li. She's even sort of a Doc Ock pose there. She's like 58. She was just in Mulan playing the bad guy, and she's constantly working. You've seen her in everything. She's always working. She'd be great. And then she's 56 now. She looks amazing.
Oh my God. What is this? What did you say? Yeah. What is the saying for Asian?
Asians don't raisin. We do not. We do not. Wow. I am actually 76 years old. You never know. And then for Korean his wife, Rosalie, is go with Bae Doona, who again has done so much, and she's in so Doc Ock's now Gong Li. So for her wife, Bae Doona. Because it's 2021. Come on.
Yeah, I like it.
I love this. Yeah,
Bae Doona's in great. Yeah. She's been a lot of those Wachowski siblings. She was in Jupiter Ascending. She was in Sense8. She's in that great Korean zombie series right now on Netflix called Kingdom. She's a great actor. I love her.
Is she going to be in Matrix 4?
Oh, is she? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. And then for this sort of boring John Jameson, maybe we can make him a little more lively. We're gonna get RM Namjoon, Kim Namjoon from BTS. He's the leader of BTS. And we're gonna sell out anyway. But you put a BTS member in the film, you have two of them. It's gonna be the biggest movie ever.
Biggest movie of all times. Yeah.
And then as Kurt Connors, the Lizard. Why not bring back a little nerdy action with Masioka?
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice. There you go.
That would be such a good take.
Isn't that great? Yeah. And there you go. That's just those four.
So,
all right.
So what do we think after having watched it? Is it the best, or one of the best? Like, where does this rank? Where does Spider-Man 2 rank in the pantheon?
Top 5 for me, for sure.
It's up there, yeah. It's like I was going back and forth on 1 and 2, and I'm like, well, 1 introduced us to that world, it was great, but I didn't really like. And I think you're right. Like as much as I love Willem Dafoe, I felt his performance is more like I'm gonna chew up the scenery as best as I can, and not in a negative way, but just like having fun. In this one, and while there were certain moments, Molina sort of chewed it up. It was just felt like this pathos and
Mm,
this great actor just oh, it
yeah.
was really great. It was really so yeah, it's up there for me.
Yeah, I do think it, yeah, top 5. It's honestly top 3 for me. I do
Oh
think it's
wow.
top 3.
I think it's
Yeah,
probably top 10 for me, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think my top 3 are probably still Superman 1 because that was made in a different
hmm
time that it was so much harder
Superman
to.
1, 2 counting as one. Yes.
Yes, well, that
I
would be
feel.
another episode that we'll do on here to really,
Batman.
yeah.
I think the first Batman, The Crow's up there
Yeah,
for
no,
me.
I not. See, Batman, not for me. No,
Yeah,
because
for me, definitely.
the scripting isn't as good, and this, like I said, the script is stunning. And then,
hmm
of course, but my favorite is Thor Ragnarok. That is number
Nice.
1 for me. So,
Nice.
but yeah, this movie has heart. It has, it's just heart. I mean, that's it.
hmm
It just has heart,
Yeah.
and in a way that the MCU is kind of lost. I got to be
Yeah.
honest, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think that the only love in there was we kind of got at first we got into the Thor movies because of Jane, but then it disappeared
Mhm.
after like the
Or
second one.
Tony and
Yeah,
Pepper
a little
too.
bit. Yeah.
But it's just like it just
Yeah, it's
takes
not there.
it takes its time to really to embrace its characters in a way that they just don't do in the MCU anymore. And
hmm
as much as I love the MCU, um, it's not there
hmm
anymore.
Yeah, what if they have a mandate? No kissing, no love.
Well, that's a whole different
Who
discussion. What do you,
knows? Who
Avery?
knows?
What do you think? Though, what do you like?
I totally see. Well, I feel like, because really I feel like the main, even in WandaVision, the primary relationship for me was Agatha and Wanda,
Mm,
not
Yeah.
like it was about the person that Wanda became because of Vision, but it wasn't really about Vision at all.
mm, mm,
So yeah, it seems like this, like kind of the interpersonal relationship, like they've kind of moved away from in the MCU for
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
reason.
yeah. That's just a different take, different times, different take. Well, thank you so much for this discussion. Next
Yeah.
week,
Ooh.
we will be back
Get your emo on.
with Spider-Man 3,
And 72 villains.
which is where
Yeah.
the curse of Avi Arad, Spider-Man
Yeah.
3, the curse of Avi Arad, and
Mhm.
we will have a lot to talk about
Well,
on
no
that.
more Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman leaves
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
2.
Yes,
Yeah.
and which is still a little bit mysterious of why he and Sam Raimi had the big breakup.
Hmm.
Whose ego
But
was the most or more out of control?
Let's
they're
call
back
him up and
together
ask him.
now.
Yes,
Oh, there.
thank
Okay.
God, thank God. But yes, so but until next week, I'm Heidi McDonald at the Beat, comicsbeat.com, editor in chief. But you can find me on all social media at Comixace, COMIXACE.
I'm Jimmy Aquino, host producer of Comic News Insider at comicnewsinsider.com. And you can find me on socials at Jimmy Aquino, JIMMYAQUINO.
And I'm Avery Kaplan. I'm the features editor at The Beat. And you can find me on socials at Avery Kaplan6.
And thank you so much for watching. And until next time, twip.
Bye.